All right, everyone, welcome to January 18th. Let's get started with the sector review. But before we do that, I just want to remind you that these videos are for information purposes only. Please do your own due diligence and research for investing in stocks. Okay, so far for S&P, this week we tried to break the 5-week moving average similar to here, but you can see for the first week of the year we actually closed below the 5-week moving average, so it was a possible change of trend here, but next week we quickly retook that. This week again we retested that 5-week and the important like 4700 4710 level, so that was tested and a quick rebound from there today. Also a gap up actually. So if we look on the hourly time frame, you can see that we formed this island, and in order for that to stay in place, we would need to kind of close. This would need to be the low. 4740 would need to be the low of the day, and we're supposed to hold in here. If that's the case, then this island would be intact. If not, then this island would be nullified. And what an island does is it provides us a possibility of a trend reversal. So you know how the hourly trend was pointing down, but the island gives it a reversal here, and on the hourly now it could be pointing up if we're able to hold this level today, 4740. Okay, so that another thing is this reversal signal is on the hourly time frame, so it is not as strong as if it were on the daily or the weekly time frame. But if we were to look at the daily chart, lots of alerts here from yesterday. Let me clean that up a bit so you guys can see better. But now you can see that so yesterday we had a breakdown from the 5-day and the 20-day, and we bought that back up, but we're not able to close above the 20-day. And today we had a gap up from here, and we are kind of closing into, or so far in the day, inside this gap from yesterday. So we actually closed this gap. You can see how this gap was closed. So this gap is closed, but we are still under the 5-day moving average, so a little bit weaker. I would like to see from this island reversal, I'd also like to see a closure above the 5-day to point to a further bullish continuation. Although we've got to keep in mind that it is a major options expiration this week, so we can expect a lot of volatility going into that event and even after that event. A lot of leaps and calls expiring this Friday. In the QQQ realm, and this is the daily chart. So yesterday we also tried breaking down, but we were able to retake the opened here, broke down, and then bought back up and closed above the 20-day moving average. And today we are hovering with the low at the 5-day and hovering above the 5-day. So this is looking strong, QQQ. And on the weekly, we have kind of gone over this before too, but this is kind of the trend line that it has been selling off of or moving towards after this breakout here on the weekly. So I could see after maybe the options expiration tomorrow, I could see further continuation if we continue the bullish trend and stay above the 5-week up to around the 5 or the 420 mark for QQQ, and the calls expiring and options expiring this week could make way for that. Okay, and that is not a given for that to happen. The 5-week must be maintained through the week, through the weekly close tomorrow. XLK, the tech sector, actually looking pretty good. We had some, we were fumbling here a bit and closing below the 5-week. We retook the 5-week last week, and this week we kind of tested this anchored VWAP, but held that in place, and now we're off to all-time highs. But it remains to be seen if the closure is in that all-time high category. But so far, this is looking pretty good. So I'm going to remove the red mark from XLK now and move this over to green. XLK looking pretty good. XLP so far looks like this overhead resistance has gotten the best of it, and we have a closure or so far below the 5-week moving average. At the very minimum, I'd like to see that closure be maintain the 5 weeks to possibly have some more, give the sellers a little bit more to play with here, or a better contest from the buyers towards the sellers, but still not one of my favorite sectors so far. SMH also looking great. We similar to XLK, this is again the weekly chart, and we had a weekly break the first week of the year, but so far we are maintaining that 5-week ever since the second week of January, and we are off to all-time highs in the SMH, so not looking bad here. IWM still contesting with that top of value we've seen at the 189 mark, so we are still holding on to that level, but one of the weaker sectors so remains in the red category. MDY also below the 5-week, still trending down. It remains in the red category. And the first thing I would like to see is some consolidation and a retake of that 5-week, and then we can start to reassess. XBI starting to look bad, and this now gets moved to the red category. Unfortunately, this was one of the green categories. Once we had that closure, we saw into these wicks where there were previous sellers, but a closure into these wicks was bullish. But this selling resistance so far that we've marked for a while on our charts got the best of it, and we are looking for or moving towards a closure which is under the 5 weeks. So so XBI now kind of not one of the stronger sectors, and you can see there these are the gaps we had marked on the hourly. So if we do have a reversal over here, the buyers need to contest with all these gaps before we get to the the big bad selling resistance that got XBI last time. So a lot of work now to do for XBI. So definitely not a easy path forward. So now it goes into the red until we get further information. Transports putting in a little bit of fight here, but still under the 5-week moving average. So a little bit better than what IWM and MDY are doing, but still remains in the red category. XLI also below the 5-week, was not able to retake it so far, and we are in this kind of upper channel with the trend pointing down. So still remains in red. XLU had a bigger sell-off today, again down 1.31%. Utilities, this resistance was just not enough buyers to kind of contest with this, and so far they are providing a lot of resistance to upward movement in the utilities. So we had a check back in which we had thought of that we were a bit extended here at the 141 in XLV. So we had a check back in XLV. And now that check back is done, we would like to see that is held and we don't have a closure below that level. If we move to the hourly, we can see that this was the check back, quickly bought back up, and now we're starting to move into these resistance areas. So I can see a slower movement now through these selling resistances in XLV, but the trend still remains intact, still remains upwards. And if we look at the weekly, we can see why that's the case. This is because the 5-week is maintained. But what I would like to see is a movement above these resistance areas now for the XLV, now that check back is done. And that can be done in two ways: a pushback through this resistance or a consolidation into it, allowing sellers and buyers to be okay or make the transactions they need to make in these levels, with buyers holding this trend line on the 5-week, and then that would give it fuel to move forward to the next or continue to breakout. But so a little bit weaker the past 2 days, XLV, but nothing out of expectations so far. But it is something to keep a close watch on for a possible trend reversal, similar to what happened with XBI. XLF 38 was that level that got the best of it. And so far that is there was enough selling strength there to make it below the 5-week, and a closure below the 5-week will not be good for XLF, as we could probably see further weakness. So that remains in the red category. ITB not looking too bad. If we move over to the daily to get a little bit more information, we are just basically consolidating this movement here, and we had a gap here. I thought that we could retest the bottom of this gap, because here we actually never fully closed this gap back in the first week of January, and so we could consolidate, possibly go a little bit deeper and close this gap before moving higher. Not looking too bad. I'm going to mark it in yellow. So XLY, consumer discretionary is looking. Let's take a look at the 5-week first. So a closure below the 5-week for the past week, which was one of the bullish weeks of the year so far. And then so far also this week, we're not able to take the 5-week, with the 5-week now starting to point down as well. Not one of my favorite sectors so far to start the year. IWC microcaps, again, the 200-week and the 5-week being together was too big of a resistance for it to get through. So nothing that's very bullish that's going on there. XLE continues to sell off. We are getting through, this is the weekly chart, and this week so far we're getting through this previous bounce level. So just a minor bounce into a further sell-off, but we are reaching this area where there has been kind of transactions in the past, and you can see a lot of buyers and sellers before a breakout happened, a retest of that bottom trend line here, and now we're reaching back into that buy demand zone. So we could see sellers or buyers recommit here and push XLE up, or if the buyers lose this battle, then we could see XLE moving much further below. The next support lies all the way back down to the 61, 62 level. Metals and mining holding the support so far, which is designated by the, I believe, we moved to the hourly. We marked this based on the previous highs. There's a gap here. So we do have a gap fill. You can see there was a gap fill and a move up here, but this remains an area where there's not much volume. You can see not much transaction has happened. So this could be an area of interest in terms of a fast move down if we're not able to hold this. If we're able to hold it, then we could start to see a little bit of a trend up or a trend reversal. But so far we had a gap close, and now we're retesting the top here. And this could be an area of fast movement in XME, so got to be careful there. USD CAD so far contesting with these moving averages here. Let's just move to the daily. You can see that there's a rejection, and this is the 50-day moving average rejecting the USD CAD pair, but it is still bullish. It is above these moving averages here. On the weekly chart, let's see what this one, 20-week is above and 5 days below. So arrangement of that needs to change for it to be a proper trend, but we can see that the moving averages are jumbled up because this has been a sideways trend for a long time now, since September 2022. So it could just remain in a sideways trend for a while, but nothing so far pointing to anything else. Okay, TLT so far continuing that sell-off. So that's not super great for growth stocks. We'd like TLT to go up so that yields go down. So that's something we'd like this trend to maybe maintain this positive momentum. Maybe it's a pull back down to the 20-week moving average, and from there we pick back up. But that is a area of caution. TLT trending down. Okay, let's see single stocks. Nvidia remains in this breakout. It was able to hold this and further break out this week. Let's see what the options expirations does to it. But if we are able to maintain that, then the year 4x zone we're looking at is somewhere around the 670 mark for Nvidia. IBM on the weekly, it is a little bit extended. It's a good look on the flag here and a move up, but it is a bit extended from the 163, which is the 5-week moving average. But you know, the breakout just started, so it's possible that there is no check back yet, and there is a further kind of move up before a check back. But one of the things to know about this is that earnings are not very far away. This is 24th of January. We have earnings in the stock. So at the minimum into earnings, if you want to play it as an earnings play, then you can see the 5-day is being maintained. So that is a good sign. So one way to play it is with a stop at the 5-day to maybe play a move into earnings for IBM. That would be one way to play it. Otherwise, if you're planning to hold a long term, you got to wait for the position according to the earnings risk that is coming up for IBM, and it is going to be the same for a lot of other stocks. MOD, this one is 30th of January, but so far also maintaining the 5-day. SYK in the healthcare, although healthcare did see that pullback into the 5-week, but this has maintained the 5-day so far. So looking one of the stronger stocks in healthcare. Boston Scientific, if stock that I'm following, but it does feel a little extended on the weekly. We did have this consolidation here with that further move up, but we have since moved a good 8-9%. So we could see another consolidation here with allowing the weeklies to catch up, which is where we could look at possible entries in Boston Scientific. Overall, I like the trend over here. Up move, consolidation phase, up move, consolidation phase. So we want to catch a bit more of that up move. I don't think this move is done yet, as long as the market still stays supportive. ARDX, some coming through with a big sell-off here today, down 7%. You can see after this flag kind of broke, we've just been kind of moving down, and these moves were really fast. So not a lot of kind of transactions between buyers and sellers in these areas. So the move up was fast, the move down can also be fast. But a check back of the 20-day is where it has previously been supported. So a check back of the 20-day here would be something to kind of keep a close watch on, and something we can also put an alert on for ARDX. Okay, Groupon. Groupon breaking down from this rising wedge. Not a great look for Groupon. So yeah, it's just not much to say here until we can maybe get back into this wedge and then look for a breakout out of this wedge. But until we get to that 13 or 13 or above, it's just a no-go on Groupon. AMD was interesting. It kind of flagged out this pattern here earlier in the week. And we had a breakout today. I think it was because of good earnings from Taiwan Semiconductor. So the whole SMH sector got lifted today because of that. We'd had a check back at the top of this flag and now bouncing up from there. This is AMD. So not too bad. And we can see here that we are one reason why I don't like it as much as Nvidia right now is because we are contesting with previous highs over here, so there could be some selling resistance to get through before we can have a proper breakout in AMD. But definitely looking strong along with the rest of the SMH sector. Shop, the 200-week, getting the best of it so far. So a closure above the 200-week would be at the minimum where you would look for possible re-entry into it. Tesla continuing its sell-off, although it's reaching this kind of bottom of this demand zone, which we had marked based on these transactions that had occurred. A failure to hold here could lead to possibly going down to the 190 or even the top over here. Trend line about the 130, 140 mark is also not out of the question if For that, I feel we would need to see either really bad earnings or a deeper market sell-off. But yeah, not a the best sector or the best stock to be in at this moment in time, with the earnings risk also coming up and just the trend pointing down, along with the XLY's trend pointing down. Microsoft looking much better here. So we had this flaggish pattern and a breakout from this flag last week. And this week we are kind of consolidating that move, but still holding where we need to hold on Microsoft. DraftKings is a new stock that is into the watch list this week because of a big move this week. But so far we can see there is a kind of upward trend here. But where is the 5 week? Here, let's see. Let's move to the daily here for a second. We can see it's not fully straightened out yet. So 200 days here. Then we have 50-day up here. And I think the 5 and the 20 are jumbled up here. And that's just trying to show you that it is moving out of a consolidation phase. So one way to approach this is to wait for a trend to form where the 5-day and the 20-day move above the 50-day. And at that point, maybe look for a point of entry into DraftKings. But so far, looking like a positive trend with earnings coming up on the 15th of February. So we still have about a month for that. So something to keep a watch on. Maybe I'll do a bit of a deeper study in DraftKings to see what could be possible points of entry in that stock. But all right, so that was it. Hope that was helpful. And yeah, good luck with tomorrow's options expiration. Thanks.